Hey, I'm Vin, and this is Give It Space. For the next few minutes, we're going to sit with one feeling, idea, social norm, identity, or just whatever might be weighing on us in this moment. Together, we'll explore where it comes from, why it lingers, and give it room to breathe without trying to fix anything. So get comfy, take a deep breath, and let's give it some space. Before we get into the episode today, I just want to say I'm starting a YouTube channel. That's why you're over here, and the microphone is here. And if you're just listening, there's a camera. If you're watching, now you have a face to put with the voice, so you're welcome. But I do apologize. It's not the fanciest setup you've ever seen, so the audio might be kind of shit, the video might be kind of shit, but I'm trying my best here, so can't say I didn't try. Now, on to the important stuff. This is my 6th episode, and therefore, it is about community, and it is about the 6 reasons why it's so hard to build one and don't have one. But it's not your fault, and I promise that this is not a call-out episode. I'm not trying to say that you suck at making friends. I promise. Instead, we're going to try and understand what community is. How do we find it? Why can't we keep it? And what does it take to build a community? But first I have to breathe. Sometimes I forget to do that. Anyways, okay. Being of the younger generation, aka Gen Z, old enough now to be able to reminisce on my childhood, I distinctly remember growing up with a good village of support. Now granted, a lot of that was because of my parents and their efforts to maintain good relationships and make friends. But I remember having neighbor kids to play with, really fun block parties to go to, a walking group so I didn't get kidnapped on my way to school, although I will say I almost got hit by a car multiple times, so the walking group wasn't always safe, but I'm here, and that's what matters. We had chili cook-offs. This is back when trick-or-treating was still a really fun thing to do and not the stupid trunk-or-treating. This is when we had picnics and youth groups and co-ed sports, which all exist now, but it was more fun back then. I didn't have to be besties with the neighbors in order to have a group of people to go out and build snowmen with when it snowed. I didn't have to try that hard to be around people my own age. And I didn't have to actively search for connection and community, which made losing it that much harder. I'm sure we all have an idea of what community is to us, but in case there are any discrepancies, I'll tell you the definition. And if you've listened to me before, you might be sick of me telling you the actual definitions, but it's just a thing I do, okay? Calm down. So, dictionary.com defines community as a group of people living in the same place or having a particular characteristic in common, a feeling of fellowship with others as a result of sharing common attitudes, interests, and goals. But social connection is not only a desire, it's a human need. Our ancestors survived by being in larger groups, for safety, for trade, to help raise children, to communicate better, and that still extends to us today. An article from thesocialcreatures.org says that we as humans developed bigger brains in order to connect, and that our body's default mode is socialization. A group of researchers found that people split into 2 groups, one who went 10 hours without food and the other 10 hours without socialization, showed that the social isolation triggered similar cravings as to food cravings after fasting. So basically, we as humans crave social connection as much as we crave food. Isn't that crazy? I think that's wild. I think that's one of the most interesting facts that I've ever heard in my life. But then 2020 happened, and we were forced into mass quarantines. And I'm sure I don't need to talk about this too much in depth because we all hold trauma. But many of us missed out on pivotal times in our lives to foster and build connection. And when we return to life as normal, we are so desperate for connection, but very unsure of ourselves and a little insecure. We were unable to practice our authenticity, practice who we are while receiving immediate gratification and feedback from our peers. We couldn't just go into school with a new haircut and be told by our best friends that it looks great or that it looks awful. We couldn't see people's reactions. We couldn't connect with people the same ways that we would in person as online. Because you can always wear a hat online, and people can always lie to your face online, and you can't really tell. The pandemic gave us the ability to focus on our own ideas, values, and political opinions without having to deal with those who disagree, or even have a conversation about it. We became introverts. I can't speak today. So sorry, you guys. We became introverted and a little bit self-centered, more reliant on technology than we were before. And in some ways, that digital communication changed our lives for the better. For me personally, 2021, I joined TikTok, found anime, and then made a bunch of friends that I still talk to today. And I would not be the person that I am right now if I hadn't found that very small subgroup of people on the internet. Because they helped show me that being different was okay, and that the small community of very whitewashed people that are upper middle class weren't my reality and didn't have to be my reality if I chose a different path. So, came out with some good things. But I missed out on my senior year of high school and my freshman year of college, which are arguably the two most important and influential years of young adulthood. But that's not to say that everybody else sucks and those are the only important years, and I'm only allowed to have trauma because I missed out on my teen life and my prom or whatever. No, everybody went through shit during COVID. And I think about the younger generation, Generation Alpha, because when I was in preschool, we had something called, I think it was like Make a Friend or Be a Friend or something. And it was like recess, but instead of having actual curriculum or being outside, the whole goal of this group activity was to learn how to make friends, be a better friend, and collaborate in team groups. And I can't imagine a childhood without that. Like, we had this little plastic treehouse in this room with a bunch of dresses and clothes that you could play dress up with, and those little circle, spiral, rotating toys where you put the piece of paper on it and you trace pens and it makes like a cool mandala. I can't imagine childhood without that. I cannot imagine a childhood sitting in your home, in your living room, doing online school or homeschooling because you're forced to and not interacting with your friends. And that's not a dig against homeschoolers. I work with plenty of homeschoolers. It's a good choice when you're given the choice. When you're not given a choice, that's different. But anyways, community always makes me think of the term "it takes a village," which then makes me think of the TV show Anne with an E, which is one of my favorite TV shows of all time. If you haven't watched it, I highly recommend you watch it. I have not read the book, so shame on me, but I will get there eventually. Basically, Anne with an E is a very close-knit community based before technology in Europe. So it would take them hours to travel by horseback, on carriages, or even walk to each other's houses, yet they would do so gladly for one another despite the inconvenience. So when somebody was sick, they were there in an instant. When somebody's house caught on fire, they were there in an instant. When somebody needed help raising a child, they could count on their neighbors. Even for funerals for someone they had never met before, they were still there. They didn't let the hard stuff get in the way of being there for one another. Even if they hated their neighbors, they were still there for them because they understood that community was needed for survival, that their farm would never make it, would never survive if they didn't rely on the people near them and in their towns. So if I learned anything, it's that to build community, you have to do hard and inconvenient things. We probably all have that one friend who's really good at making excuses for why they can't show up, why they're late all the time, or why they never initiate contact. Which is hard because you want to spend time with them, but you don't want all the onus and all of the effort to be yours alone. I like to say that relationships are a two-way street. You can't expect the same appreciation and effort that you put in if the other person is not willing to give it back. So, again, it takes a little work. Like, if your friend just got surgery, make them a comfort meal, something that they can put in their freezer so they don't have to cook and get up while they're recovering. If someone just had a baby, maybe you offer to do their dishes or take out their laundry for them so they can spend time being a parent rather than cleaning the house. If somebody started a new job or started their own business, celebrate them. Don't just text them, oh, congrats on your new business or your new job. Be there for them. That's a major life change. And they need support. They need their friends. Oftentimes, I think our good intentions are there, but we don't extend them into day-to-day life. It's always a simple happy birthday, sorry for your loss, let me know if you need anything, hope you're doing okay. Text message. That doesn't build connection or community. It's nice to hear, sure, but it's more for the person sending the text message to feel like they did something and for a sense of approval than it is helpful by any means. We're beyond the point where our parents will make friends for us, and that's a hard thing to come to terms with, even as a 22-year-old. But that doesn't mean that there isn't any hope. Sometimes all it takes is a little bravery. For example, this one's a doozy. Okay, the summer I turned 21, literally all of my friends from college went back home for the summer. So I was alone in downtown Chicago during what I had hoped would be one of the best, most fun times of my life. I was living alone in student housing, I was taking summer school classes, and completely and totally isolating myself because it was convenient, it was easy. Until I decided to join a co-ed beach volleyball team for adults. Was it expensive? Yes. Did I force my only friend in the city at the time to join with me even though he wasn't 21 yet and hated volleyball? Yes. Was I scared as fuck to commute during rush hour on the Red Line almost an hour once a week by myself? Yes. But I showed up for myself, even when my friend didn't go, even when I was afraid, even when I felt insecure being all sweaty on public transportation post-games, even when we lost, which we lost almost every single, actually no, we lost every single game. We were the worst team in the entire bracket, but I still showed up, even when it was a weeknight, and after the game we would go celebrate at a bar, and I had homework to do, or I had school the next day, I still showed up. And would I have rather have been binging Naruto with a cafeteria food in the air conditioning of my safety of my dorm room? Yeah, of course I would. But for those 8 weeks, I had something to look forward to. I had people that I didn't know who were excited to get to know me, to play with me. And then after a week, they deemed me team captain. The youngest one on the team with the most volleyball experience, they told me I was mature enough to be team captain. So crazy work. It was probably just sympathy. But anyways, I had a blast. So after a while, they started offering me rides home. They started connecting me and bringing me into their circles. They paid for shots since I was the youngest one and I had no way of making money. We made inside jokes for our team name and had so much fun losing together that even though we were the worst in the league, everybody thought that we were the most fun. Every team that we played walked away smiling and laughing because we had just so much fun together. But I was young. I've grown. I've grown in the past year, I swear. I know it's only been a year since that, but I've grown. So I didn't, and I'm still learning how to be able to foster those connections and keep them going. But community is possible. Villages don't always look how we think they will. And it takes more than just texting or calling or FaceTiming to make it last. But it's not 100% our fault that building community is so hard. Actually, it's probably not even 20%. And I will tell you why right now. There are 6 main reasons why building community is so difficult, hence the 6 reasons why you don't have it in the title. The first one is something called digital socialization. It's the new norm, and we have no way of breaking free from it as long as cell phones and technology exists. My parents used to scold me all the time when I was a kid for being on my phone so much, and they still do, but I would rely on it to talk to my friends, and my dad would always be like, well, why are you texting them? Why don't you just call them? They can't understand your tone of voice or your sarcasm through the text message. And he's right. No one's saying he's wrong. I know he's right. But what I always said in return was, I would rather have a flip phone. I would rather have a BlackBerry. Hell, I would even take a walkie-talkie because I don't like social media and all of the apps on my cell phone. But I can't do that because logging off while all the rest of my community and friends are still online would isolate me even more. Because we create these identities online that lead us to fostering friendships, but we disguise our true intentions and our true beliefs. And we build these friendships based on an incorrect version of ourselves that we're performing and putting onto these platforms. We think that we need to live a certain way, act a certain way in order to be seen or acknowledged by our peers, and that our online identity is more liked than our real identities. And that ability to just log into an entirely new identity day in and day out is exhausting and detrimental to our in-person relationships. Because you could see a TikTok dance trend that your best friend posted 2 days ago on TikTok, and you might be making fun of it at home in the safety of your room. And then the next day you see your best friend and act like nothing happened. Act like you loved the video, like you watched it 10 times and you were laughing out loud at it, even though your best friend would never know that you were bullying them. Because there is no repercussion for that. There's no real life consequence to you pretending in real life after shaming somebody online. Everything feels inauthentic. It feels fake. We've become bad at pretending to be interested in each other's lives. It's like the phrase, oh, put yourself in someone else's shoes. Well, we can't even find the shoes anymore. The shoes are fucking in the Mariana Trench or something. I don't know. Those shoes are long gone. Number 2 is distrust and the disposable mindset. We seem to have adopted the mindset due to technology that people online are disposable, because it's easier to ghost someone when things feel stressful or new or difficult than it actually is to talk about those feelings. We can always play the Tinder swiping game because we don't want to get our feelings hurt in real life. We would rather judge someone else online than actually be vulnerable. I also think about, when you talk about disposable mindset, I think of the phrase, if they wanted to, they would. Yes, if somebody wanted to go out on a third date with you and you hadn't heard from them in a week, you might say, well, if they wanted to see me again, then they would plan a date and they would text me first. But you never know what someone else is going through until you ask. And I have been guilty of this for half of my life, so I'm not saying I know better, but it would be easier to just abandon the relationship as a whole than it would be to try and repair it when challenges arise. I was always the first to try and find an out in my friendships. For example, my freshman year of college, I didn't last 15 weeks before I dropped out and went home. But I tried to stay in contact with the same group of friends that I had in high school who we had survived COVID with. It was 8 of us. And it had no effect. I tried to tell them that I was really struggling, that I was having a hard time finding friends. I wasn't having any fun, that I was in a really dark place mentally, that I was abusing substances, and I was isolated. And I got the typical, I'm so sorry text, and I wish I could see you text, and we could totally FaceTime once a week, because I had asked them, I need you guys. I need help. I need my community. Can we FaceTime at least once a month or something? And they all said yes. But then a few days went by, and then a few weeks went by, and then a few months went by, and I never heard from them again. I said, well, if they really cared about me, then they would reach out. I told them I was vulnerable. I said what I was going through, and they just ignored me, so they must not want to be friends with me anymore. I internalized it. I made them the villains for moving on. But I never stopped to consider that maybe what they were posting online was fake. Maybe they weren't actually having as much fun as Instagram made it seem. Maybe they were struggling just as much as I was on the inside. Maybe I was being selfish. But by the time I figured any of that out, it was already too late, and I still don't talk to these people. That's how much it impacted my life. 6 years later, and I still have not talked to a single one of them. Not from a lack of trying. I have tried to, get a group chat going, but some of them blocked me. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is that if you come from a place where you're seeking to understand rather than to judge, to criticize, a place from self-righteousness or whatever it might be, if you're just trying to understand where another person might be coming from and their situation from which they're responding to, then maybe a community can be created, or at least a better relationship, a healthier relationship, and better boundaries. Number 3 is something called convenience culture. Everything is online now. Literally everything. Food can be ordered to your house. Sports can be broadcasted from your TV. You can work remotely, do class remotely, do therapy remotely. You can go to online sermons for your church or whatever religion you practice. You can have an at-home gym. You don't even have to go outside and take walks anymore. There's a treadmill for that. I cannot think of a single thing that you can't do from the safety of your home. Literally. Given the choice between staying in, ordering food and watching a movie, or going out of your way to hang out with friends at a bar after work, you will always choose what's convenient. And for the most part, that's valid, but it's not always an excuse. If you constantly cancel plans with your friends because you need a mental health day, your social battery is low, it's past your bedtime, or you just want to stay in with your pets and do a face mask, after a while, your friends won't be willing to show up for you. We've become reliant on ourselves so much that we believe that we don't need other people anymore because the only person that will be there is you. The only person that knows who you are is you. Well, obviously. No one's coming to save you. That's the one I hear all the time. That's what I was trying to say. And that may be true sometimes, but it doesn't have to be your reality all the time. It's okay to rely on others. You can't expect help if you're not willing to ask for it. Yes, you will always be there for yourself. It's your mind. It's literally your body. But from the moment that you were born, you have never truly been alone. So it's not like you can expect that people are just going to leave you alone for the rest of your life if you say, oh, well, I'm the only one who will ever be there for me. Yeah, so convenience culture. Love it. Number 4 is anxiety. Holy shit, the anxiety of it all. Anxiety when I leave the house. Anxiety when I don't leave the house. Anxiety when I try to make friends. Anxiety when I have friends. Anxiety when I don't have friends. Anxiety that I won't be liked, that I'll get canceled, that I'm being cringy. Anxiety about crowds, about new situations, about being bullied, being uncomfortable, being awkward. It literally never ends. There is always something to be anxious about. And again, that's valid. I have so much anxiety lingering inside of me, but at the same time, I've been told since I was a child that eventually I just have to get over it. That, exposure therapy is the only real way to fix your problems and get over them. Which, if you're scared of driving in the snow and you have to go to work to make money and you have to drive to work in the snow, yeah, you're going to get over your anxiety of driving in the snow because you have to do it. You're forced to do it. But if you're anxious about meeting new people, yeah, exposure therapy could work for that too, but you have to actually get out of the house in order for the exposure therapy to work. And I think that's where people really struggle, is because your house is so comfortable. You're so used to it after COVID. You're so used to being alone. Even if you desire and crave human connection, you'll still choose the safety of your home because it's safe. Number 5 is time poverty. People are too busy to hang out. Long, grueling hours at work leave people exhausted and depleted, overwhelmed by all that's going on in the world. We all need decompression time, and often it's at the cost of social interaction. We simply don't have time or energy to spend the additional 8 to 10 hours a week with friends, coworkers, acquaintances, family, partner, etc., needed to strengthen bonds. And that's a difficult one, because I feel so bad. Besties, if you're listening, when I get home from work and I tell you that I can't FaceTime you, it's not because I don't love you, because I do love you. It's because work is exhausting, and unfortunately, I would just rather go home and eat something and watch TV and go to sleep than try and have a conversation and entertain you for 3 hours because I can't do it. I can't do it emotionally. Sorry. And last but not least, number 6 is economic barriers. Income inequality, access to the internet, limited access to credit or investment, declining tax revenue for public infrastructure, housing affordability, unemployment rates, and geographic isolation are all contributing factors into why community engagement is so difficult. If you are a young family, educated, and looking for work or housing in a big city, community would be the last thing on your mind because you're too preoccupied trying to pay rent, trying to find a job, trying to find a babysitter or a pet sitter, trying to find a good grocery store nearby. Even though community is what's meant to help you through life's biggest transitions. These economic barriers occupy so much time and money that there's no time left for making friends and building community and being neighborly. Like I said before, I had to pay to be on that beach volleyball team. It was $85 for 6 games, an ugly gray t-shirt, and a cheap pitcher of Blue Moon tap beer after every game. That's a lot of money for once a week interaction, and I was paying for the interaction. Location, income, and access to internet make all the difference, but it's not only about money, it's also about space. There are absolutely zero free or low-cost spaces where people can gather to find community and hang out with others their own age. In elementary school, we would play at each other's houses. Middle school, we'd hang out at the blacktop or at a park by our house. In high school, we'd go to the forest preserve, to McDonald's, the mall, or even to a Target parking lot and just sit in the car. And then in college, it was the quad, it was each other's dorms, it was a local bar, whatever. But as adults, we have no community gathering places, nowhere to hang out and socialize, nowhere to go for casual conversation or mindless games without having to pay something. So there's your 6 reasons why building community in today's day and age is harder than you think, as if it wasn't hard enough before. But now it's time to give it some space. This is something I do in all of my episodes, something that I find calming and makes me feel more present in mind and body. Holy shit, that scared me. Oh my god, that was my lights. Holy shit, that scared me. It's fine anyways. Let my heart just calm down for a hot second. Oh my god. Okay. So if you want to join me in this calming exercise after I about had a fucking panic attack, feel free. I'm going to take a second to get more comfortable. You can close your eyes if you want, if you're not doing something important like driving, and take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. While I don't need any more space from people since I've been isolated enough as is, I need space from the mental weight of it all. Now remember, I'm not a professional, not a therapist or a life coach. I won't tell you to make friends or that you're isolating too much and to stop. I won't tell you to get over your anxieties. This is only to help us detach momentarily from the expectations, frustrations, and desires that we're faced with. We are going to remind ourselves that life has many paths. Maybe a small group of friends is all that we need. Maybe your desire for community stems from the safer numbers mentality we are biologically adapted to. I can spend time alone with my thoughts, decompressing from the day without feeling guilty that I didn't FaceTime my friend right when I got home, or that I didn't go to see a band play at a bar after work with my coworkers. I can acknowledge the hurdles in my way, see their impactfulness, and just set it aside for now. I'm not running towards the hurdles, jumping over them, or even trying to find a way around them yet. I'm just letting myself feel their presence and understand that they are an inevitable force standing between me and my search for community. I'm allowing myself to feel that craving deep down for socialization. Not thinking of my next shift at work, not thinking about that birthday party I still have to spend money on and get a gift, not thinking about the inconveniences or comforts that I have to weigh. I'm giving myself the space to see, feel, and acknowledge the presence of community, connection, and compromise in my life. And with that, you can open your eyes again if you haven't already done so. So community and connection are biologically necessary for the safety and well-being of the human race. Yet our circumstances today appear to polarize, divide, and isolate us. Isn't that just fucking fantastic? Maybe because we're stronger in numbers. Maybe because they don't want us to realize that we don't need a Costco or a Sam's Club membership when all we have to do is have shared meals in a community garden. Maybe they don't want us to know that our neighbors 4 floors down can become lifelong friends if we'd only say hi in the lobby. That maybe our high school buddy has a job opening for us at his company that would be a perfect fit if only we'd reach out. Maybe people at school or at work actually like our real personalities over our fake online ones. Maybe we aren't so alone, so isolated, so anxious. Maybe we aren't so awkward. Maybe we all crave community and closeness, but just don't know where to start. So let's start here, by giving it space enough to understand our loneliness and longing for connection. We are human after all. Thank you so much for listening. I'm grateful that you're here. This is Give It Space, your virtual room to slow down, breathe, and just be for a moment. If you want to support this podcast and me, you can get updates and sneak peeks into upcoming episodes on Instagram at GiveItSpacePod, which has a link in the bio where you'll find a TikTok and Patreon listed. Or you can now find me on YouTube. Yay! which I will also link in that tap link bio in my Instagram as well if you want to click the little bell icon to get notifications for when I post. I'm always happy to hear your feedback or thoughts for future topics, so DM me on Insta or shoot me an email at giveitspacepod@gmail.com. I'm your host, Vin, and I'll see you next time. Number 2 is ditch English. We seem to have... Oh my god. Twice in a row. Anyways, we all need to... That sounded like I said we all need dick. No, we don't all need that. Income equality? Yeah, that's a word. No, it's not. Or even trying to find... It sounded Irish. I'm always happy to hear your feedback. What? That's not a word. Crush that. That was my third time trying to record this fucking podcast. First time the audio was too grainy. Second time I accidentally deleted the fucking audio and couldn't retrieve it. And this time I had to try and set up the camera. So that's a blast. Pissing me off. I hate how you can hear my breathing. Yeah. Cool. See ya. Bye.